So it's going to come down to who's going to get the early lead in the early to mid game, and who's going to execute their comp a little better. Because we saw no Lyra combos with Baptiste, Ordains, and Rona from Elite 8, and Pain Gaming also had similar struggles against Cloud9. So it'll be a very close match, I feel, and it'll be more exciting to watch because of how close these two teams are.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see exactly that, how close these two teams are, because, you know, they're regions from opposite sides of the world. We haven't seen Southeast Asia against South America. We don't necessarily know where they stand within the power rankings. So definitely a lot will be decided with this series, not just in terms of the results, not just in terms of the group, but also kind of the expectations for these regions in future international events as well. Now let's take a look at the roster for the second team on this one. It's Elite 8 stepping on forward to go against Pain Gaming. They've just played against Cloud9 now. Obviously, Cloud9 managed to take that series, but Cloud9 were a heavy favorite to begin with. Sanime Save Me, Hun Jaegers, and Official Hein stepping on forward here once again. And I mean, guys, based on that last series that we've just seen, based on the loss to Cloud9, who out of this roster is the one to really step up? Or is this more of another situation where it's all about the entire team playing as a unit?
I think it's definitely going to be about the entire team playing as a unit. You can't really rely on one member when you're going into a matchup that's this important. Obviously, you definitely want to see your carry being able to play an incredible performance and get the kills and get the CS leads. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention onto Hun Jaegers here, but you need to be playing as a team if you're going to be able to take down an opponent that again seems to be on paper at least fairly evenly matched with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to see them playing as that team unit. We need to see them stepping up here on the stage, and perhaps having just played against Cloud9, maybe they'll be feeling a little bit warmed up coming on into this series, and hopefully feeling ready to jump on into this next best of two.
I mean, as we get into the draft here, what I was going to talk about, the fact that draft is very important for this team, Elite 8.
Yeah.
I mean, against Cloud9 in that second game, they decided to go with a very interesting composition against the Chunwalker and the Sky. Chunwalker did such an incredible job of just pulling everyone away from the Sky, allowing her to continue on stacking her breaking point. So Elite 8, more than execution, they need to focus on the draft and try to get themselves clear advantages that they can execute on.
Lorelei first ban.
Yeah,
That's
first
not
ban.
something we've seen
Normally
today.
she's second phase ban. Now you leave a lot of power picks open because the Black for the Rona's not banned, the Churnwalker is not banned. So Pain Gaming hopefully will pick up the Churnwalker here because he's such a strong captain. I would say arguably stronger than Lyra because of his kit.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a strategy in itself. Don't ban all of the power picks so that you can grab more of them for yourselves. We'll see how that works out for Pain Gaming, banning that Lorelei first. Obviously, Churnwalker available, Arden as well. We've seen both of those being first pick today. Also, Vox, something that we've seen first pick quite a lot as well.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of options, but it is going to be the Churnwalker as expected. And this is just a pick that pretty much every single team is prioritizing when they are on this A side. So I don't think it has gotten past the A side first pick yet today. It's either been banned or taken with that selection. So not surprising whatsoever that Pain Gaming would make that selection.
Yeah, and it looks like Arden will be picked up as this pretty much out of Lyra, Churnwalker, Arden. Those are the three tier 1 captains that we always see being picked off first. And then normally Vox, the Black Feather, or Rona will be banned depending on which hero they don't want to face and which hero they're more comfortable with. So if they want a Vox, then they probably want to take away like a Black Feather, for example.
Or the Baron. I mean, so at this point, the captains have been secured. The next priority is going to be on that carry role. So you're going to see something like either the Baron into the Vox or banning the Rona to pick up a Black Feather, or banning the Kestrel because that's something that perhaps they know Pain Gaming plays really well, so they're trying to avoid it.
Kestrel is so interesting because in NA, you see Tribe, two Tigers and Maxstream build Metal Jacket. And I feel like looking at EA and SEA, they don't build Metal Jackets against the Kestrel, and I feel like that's why she's kind of more meta in these regions, because they don't know how to effectively counter build and counter her.
I mean, to that point very quickly, when I used to play competitively still, and when I played Kestrel, I would go for the Sword Blade into the Tension Bow specifically so that I have a little bit of armor piercing, so that if I run into a Metal Jacket, I don't have that trouble. But the regular build, the more standard build right now for Kestrel, is going Sword Blade, Monocle, Monocle into a Bonesaw. So you delay your armor piercing until the very late game, which is why the Metal Jacket is so effective against her.
Absolutely. Obviously, Tension Bow lost a lot of its strength when the health pools increased. So it makes things like this a little bit less viable, a little bit less appropriate right now.
I like the Vox pick here because when Churnwalker lands a hook, he can just Sonic Zoom away from it and it'll detach the hook easily. Vox is a very, very strong pick. And if they pick Rona, Vox, again, can dance around the Rona along with the Vanguard and a Gauntlet to counter the melee aggressive Berserker fighting style that Rona plays. So that leaves options like Weapon Sky potentially, or Baron if they pay Baron into this Vox. Could work. However, Baron doesn't have the best synergy with the Churnwalker.
Now, there's one thing I do want to question you on is, because you keep saying the Baron doesn't have the great synergy with Churnwalker, but a lot of times when you talk about what goes well with Churnwalker, it's burst and AoE. And Baron is burst and AoE damage, so on paper, it feels like it would be very strong with the Churnwalker.
I guess, why do you think that Baron doesn't synergize well with Churnwalker?
Because Churnwalker has an engage, he needs the hook. Baron is very squishy, so if you engage onto like the Baron, Churnwalker becomes not as effective. So you want like an all-in dive comp, like a Vox with Churnwalker, Rona with Churnwalker, because if they dive into a Rona and Vox, they can just dance around, ult, etc. Baron is a lot more squishy and doesn't have as much protection and tanky that can basically maximize the fertility of life that Churnwalker's hero perk gives in terms of damage reduction and damage sharing.
It still feels like, though, if you're able to stay safe, then with the Baron positioned properly, it works really well with the damage sharing. But it's not going to be something we have to worry about in this game, as it will be the Batiste to pair up with the Churnwalker. And this one's pretty interesting. There's, again, we've seen this composition already. The amount of lockdown that you have is so strong.
Yeah, and it does seem like Pain Gaming agree with you there, so they go with the Rona. I actually want to talk about the matchup between Rona and Vox. A lot of people think Vox counters Rona because he can kite very well and dance around her. Funny enough, while that's true, Rona still does incredibly well against the Vox just because of how much burst she brings with her kit and how durable she is, how tanky she is on that front line. So if you're able to continue on sticking to the Vox, if you use your abilities correctly, gain the first gap closing ability with your foe splitter and then saving your into the fray for when he uses his Sonic Zoom, you're able to stay very close to him, and the matchup works in Rona's
Alpha
favor.
is a really interesting one because Rona counters Alpha pretty hard. Orange can just out on top of the Alpha and they can just literally focus the Alpha. The Alpha dives in. Churnwalker can keep Alpha in the ult, and Baptiste can trap the Alpha, and Vox won't be able to do enough damage to kill either the Baptiste or the Rona.
I think this is the first Alpha we're actually going to see of the tournament as well. Is this the second one? Do we see one?
Second, against Cloud9 earlier.
Pain Gaming played against Cloud9 and lost.
Okay, so on the main stream,
on the main stage,
this is the first one that we're going to be seeing. So I'm curious to see how this one's going to be panning out. Obviously, one of the favorites, at least between these two teams, but it's about time we get this game underway. I want predictions for this one, because this one's a little bit more hard to call than the last series. Who we expect to take
I really
this one?
like Pain Gaming's draft. It just works together so well, all three heroes that they picked.
Okay, Pain Gaming?
Going to be questioning the Alpha pick with Batiste and Churnwalker already there. So definitely going to be going with Pain Gaming on this one as well.
I do give the draft over to Pain Gaming, but I think Elite 8 just out of better performance when it comes to gameplay and playing together as a unit, they will come out ahead in this game.
All right, we have a split desk on this one. We'll see how our casters are feeling about this one. I want to know how you guys at home are feeling about this one as well. Hashtag Vainglory Worlds on Twitter. Let us know if you're still awake and watching. It's time to get on into the game. It's time to pass it up to our casters and kick off the third to last series of the day.
Thank you very much, Munchables. Here we go. Pain Gaming versus Elite 8. Now, Elite 8 have already had 2 games to warm up. We'll see how Pain Gaming, who have had a little bit of a rest, match up.
Yeah, again, I think I'm on Suijay and Tasty Bacon's side here. I think the draft from Pain Gaming is very, very good. Now, I think it's very difficult to call which of the two teams maybe mechanically are going to perform better as a unit or individually. I know Elite 8 are a great team. We saw them win the Spring SEA Championships. They both had Cloud9 to face, which were both expected realistically to lose those series 2-0. it's so difficult to call where they are, I think, individually, because again, you just don't see much of Pain Gaming because obviously the South American region is quite isolated from the rest. And Elite 8, I've seen little bits of them, you know, 6 or 7 months ago, but it's not like I see them regularly. It's so difficult to call.
Well, here we go. Jumping onto the fold. Pain Gaming on the blue. Elite 8 over on the red. And like you said, Pain Gaming have a bit of a tough time as well scrimming against some of the other teams because of that distance that they have. But they are the kings of their region. And we'll see if they can take down Elite 8.
Again, Pain starting on the inside here, rotating from in to out, which is kind of what Cloud9 did in the previous series. Just means that they can get control over this central Treant, and then in the future they'll be able to then come back to it when they have that spawn up and ready in their minds and look to try and contest it as a unit once more. Interestingly enough, I think we focused so heavily on Alpha in this draft, we didn't really talk about the fact that you have an Arden and a Vox into what is essentially a triple melee composition. Obviously, you have a limited amount of range coming out on Batiste, but you have an Arden and a Vox into a triple melee composition. Like, if you can actually kite that and kite it effectively, use that gauntlet well, double the gauntlets, you've still got a Vox who is very, very good at running circles around these kind of melee laners and melee junglers like the Batiste and the Rona.
I mean, it could end up we're seeing, like in the Cloud9 versus Elite 8 game, where both the captain and the laner, they just rotate together, rotate, and they just don't actually meet each other in the lane. That is a very real possibility. As you can see, they're doing that just now. Hanyega's just rotating down with the Vox. I mean, we spoke about the Alpha as well. Their ability to kind of control this Elder Treant here is going to be pretty strong, especially when Heim actually just reaches the team. But Falcon and Jaswino Ferrer are moving in. Does get the 2 chains here, so there's a lot of regeneration. Nice Torment in. That does actually go over to Elite 8. Hanyegas did manage to find it, the securing blow. As the Ordained onto Heim. Should be able to just walk away from that one, not a problem.
Yeah, Jaswino Ferrer just trying to get those chains landed down. Interesting that official Heim's trying to go aggressive here. He's now caught between a rock and a hard place.
Oh yeah, Heim going extremely low. Has to pop the flask. Did get a little bit of speed up from the Arden as well, but now he's caught out. Anime save me, can't quite get out. He's an odd inch of HP. Bad Mojo will follow him up though. Falcon finds Burst Blood.
And you're going to see Falcon move into the side of the jungle from Elite 8. I wonder how far he'll go. There are back camps up and available for him, and he is going to head straight to those doubles, the highest gold value of those back camps, and he's going to get them and take them away pretty easily here. Big experience boost and gold boost for him. Also going to limit what official Hein is going to get from this situation too.
Yeah, Hanyega's now just forced to clear this wave out as the rest of Pain Gaming do actually end up recalling here, so they will be able to get their items on board a little bit sooner than Hanyegas can. However, Elite 8 aren't quite satisfied with that. They are just going to start up this Elder Treant, should be able to take it as well. No real interference. Easy money. And even Heim actually clearing away some of these front camps as well. Anime saves me, might be in a little bit of trouble, Scoundrel. No,
they're okay. It's just Ferro is just going to move in, but realistically, a churn by himself is not going to set up anything pre-level 6 too easily, regardless. Hanyega's in the lane here, just farming up away. He's going to get flanked by the Pain Gaming roster, who...
Oh, Dane does actually land the stun there, pretty big. Oh, Torment as well, going extremely low. Doesn't quite find the second chain. In fact, he was already chained up, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Hanyegas is forced to blow the flask, however.
And that's also the boots burnt as well. So, pretty big set of cooldowns that he's not going to have available to him. Well, you can see Anime Saving's actually gone for an Iron Guard contract. Not a lot of captains have actually done this over the course. I actually do this in solo queue all the time, but I'm unsure sort of its competitive viability, but it does allow you to sustain quite heavily in lane without that healing flask, especially when you combine that with the Book of Eulogies, and, and so on and so forth in the laning phase. You get a lot of regeneration back, but it does limit kind of the efficacy of that contract as you go throughout the laning phase. It kind of outlives its performance very quickly, and then you have to like sacrifice it and go towards a fountain ASAP. But this is something I do. I pretty much always start with this in solo queue, but like I said, in competitive, especially when you're playing a Vox matchup where you have a range advantage regardless, like it seems like a little bit of an overkill. But hey, he's obviously needing it because at this point in time, Pain are really punishing him in the lane.
They're also punishing him in the jungle as well. They are moving up. Jaegers gets pulled in with the Torment. There's the Ordain's going to lock him up. Doesn't quite stun him just yet, but the red mist underneath the turrets. Must summons the courage and takes the next kill. Heim comes in with a nice interception. However, not too much damage. Can't quite finish off Muster.
Good start here for Pain. Again, that composition coming through, like you said. Interestingly enough, not hitting the pain point of the Alpha, though. Really hitting the pain point of the laning phase for Jaegers. Anime and Jaegers have gone down so far. Again, kills kind of mean nothing if you don't do anything with them. So you need to look to continuously convert your kills into something meaningful on the map that is either going to be turrets, it's either going to be things like Goldmine. And it's something that the likes of Cloud9 and the upper tier teams do really, really well. Yet to see that kind of level of conversion from the likes of Elite 8 or Pain. We'll have to see whether they can do it across this series. Remember, the winner of this series gets through. You know, the winner of this series goes through, and I think actually, if it goes to a tied series, we actually get a tiebreaker in this group. So if it's a 1-1 apiece, it's a tiebreaker in the group. But if a winner, 2-0 winner, takes this series, that is the team that is going to go through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, pretty exciting, and they would have shown much improvement as well. Pain Gaming last year, going 0-2, I'm sure they really want to look for their first win, or first series win on the board. Now pushing up this lane, you can see Falcon now starting to come online, has picked up that Shatter Glass, so he's doing a fair bit of damage, especially with those empowered bad mojos. Heim is going to move in as well, however, not really, a little bit hesitant. He does have Aftershock though on board, and Termination Protocol available.
Decent pickup of the Shatter Glass here that's going to do a bit of burst work, especially to Jaegers, who's yet to prioritize any shielding whatsoever. But obviously that front line of the Arden and the Alpha, they're going to be able to soak up those bad mojos pretty easily. Alpha's already got some tier 1 shielding. You are just a tanky dad as the Arden. But this is going to be the gold miner. Started up here by Pain. Red Mist is going to start to churn. Elite 8 do know this is happening. Here comes the silence.
There's the wait for it. Heim's going to just face check this brush. Ordain's going to come out as well. He's going to lock him in place. Jaegers is going to be able to get out of there. Red Mist opened up. Heim's going extremely low. Popped into the passive. The gauntlet, the cage gets laid down behind. Already falls, and they're going to be able to secure the gold miner as well. Pain moving forwards. Anime save me. Hides underneath his turret, but losing one in the gold miner. That could result in a lot of damage on this tier 1.
Rubbing salt in the wounds. They're even going to potentially go for this turret. The Red Mist is going to start to churn.
Oh, it should just be able to take it out pretty easy with a couple of bad mojos. There's Pain Gaming taking the first turret of the game.
I love what Muster was doing on that Rona. He was basically using the Red Mist as a zoning tool. Yes, okay, Jaswina Pharaoh and Falcon were doing the tanking and the majority of the damage to the turret, but he was using the Red Mist as a zoning tool to not allow Jaegers or Anime Save Me to get into a position where they could try and defend the turret on the forefront. He was essentially saying, if you want to get to the guys taking the damage from the turret, if you want to go deal damage to Falcon or Jesuino, you actually have to get through this huge whirlwind of damage first. And I love Ronas that use that as that ability as a zoning tool, not only as a way to sort of win and sort of dominate team fights, but also utilize it as the fact that it is a giant churning area of death that you shouldn't step in. That was a really nice use there from Muster.
Really nice use of words as well, Alexander.
I'm sorry, I'm 21 hours awake right now, and my vocabulary has gone out the window.
I'll buy you a dictionary, it's all good.
Thank you.
It's not a problem. Now Muster just being able to clear out this lane. With this turret down as well, does mean Pain are going to be able to push inside Elite 8's jungle now. And it's up to them to kind of react. However, with Anime Saves Me, his ultimate available in a couple of seconds here as well. I'm trying to get over the wall there. Didn't quite find the Prime Directive on the Elder Treant.
Really important item spike picked up by the Alpha. She's one of the main users of this Aftershock. This is on 2.10 where Aftershock got a 1% nerf, which was super impactful. But it still means that Alpha, you know...
Ordain, there comes the cage. It's a fight. That fearsome shade already sends Heim packing. He's just going to go down again. Jaegers now in the front line just gets torn apart. Pain fine too, and it's Anime Saves Me not saving his team this time around. And Pain really, really showing what they're made of.
Alpha yet to pop a ultimate whatsoever. So he's always getting put into her heroic perk without even using her ultimate. So that's, again, a bit of a misplay. Hasn't been able to get into sustained fights utilizing that Aftershock with the core charge whatsoever. It has been literally Pain Gaming freight train throughout the entirety of this game so far. The one, I think, saving grace lies in Jaegers. He's going to farm up. He's going to get towards that 3-item spike, the 3 offensive item spike, and he's going to look to try and do what Vox does best and kite sort of heavily against this triple melee composition in the late game. But that is a fair way off, in my opinion. I think he needs a reflex block. I think he needs his final item be that whatever it's going to be, a bone saw. Maybe bone saw will be the most applicable in this game, but you could even go for a Sorrow Blade if you wanted to. But you definitely need a reflex block, because if Ordain blocks you down or you get pulled in by Torment, you are not going to have that ability to kite very easily.
Pain Gaming proving that they really can push teams to their limits and push Elite 8 and force them to make mistakes and then capitalize on it as well. Anime Save Me went for that engagement, remember. He did lay down at the cage and just wanted a fight. However, like you mentioned, Heim not popping his ultimate there. Didn't actually want to go for the giant explosion, just try and do some AoE damage. The problem was Muster and Jasmino Farah are already on top of him, and they are way too tanky at this point in the game as well. And even that Fearsome Shade just completely annihilated.
Well, you lose your ultimate if you don't use it, so you might as well use it. It buys you time, and then it gives you a little bit of a zoning tool with the explosion.
Wafer does come out. There comes the cage again. Ordain's going to lock Anime Saves Me in. A nice trespass is going to send Ardent to death. And that'll be Heim in the front line again. Just doesn't use the ultimate. Just didn't want to click the button. And now it's only the Vox to just scoot away. And that'll be Pain Gaming securing that Crystal Sentry. 2 kills and a turret.
Seriously, use it or lose it. That's how Alpha's ultimate works. If you just don't click the button, it's going to go away anyway. It buys you a bit of space, but obviously I don't think it would have had much impact across these last few fights. Pain Gaming are just rolling through. 7,000 gold in the lead right now. Jasmino Farah now also with Echo on the horizon. It's going to allow him to get the double trespass off if he absolutely needs to, which is obviously fantastic. Deals with at least one of those crucibles. We're not seeing 2 yet, but you know, some people do often play 2 crucibles into sometimes heavy Echo Captain CC.
You never know, Heim might actually take up that burden of taking the second crucible. We'll have to wait and find out, because in all honesty, it's all been about those trespasses. Even the Torments are doing a lot of work for the moment. And Muster's just making good use of that ability to just jump into the fray as soon as someone's pulled back. They're going to be able to take the gold miner as well. Red Mist is going to be able to help secure it. And Gaming, right now, they are 7,000 gold in the lead. They are 7-0. They've got 2 turrets. What more can Elite 8 really do right now in order to stop the steamroll that is Pain Gaming?
Well, I think it's turtle game for Elite 8 right now, right? I said their win condition has now gone from Alpha. Alpha is no longer a win condition in any way, shape, or form. It's all on Vox at this point. Hun Jaegers is going to have to be the carry machine for this team if they are to succeed. Looks like he's actually going to go for a Sorrow Blade. I probably would have gone for the Bone Saw myself, but again, both of them work perfectly fine. Just he needs that 3-item spike. He needs to get a reflex block behind him, and he just needs to have almost pinpoint perfect positioning. Alongside that, Anime Save Me, he finishes up that Echo. Maybe then you're going to have the ability to zone out this heavy melee composition with all of those walls that you have to kind of negotiate your way through. So there are specific breakpoints for Elite 8 here that could give them a road back into this game. But even if they find those breakpoints, you're still, what, 7,000, 8,000 gold behind your opposition? That's 7,000 or 8,000 gold worth of infusions or items that's going to give them just a pure stat advantage in a fight. Even if you've hit these major power spikes for your team, that power spike could be well below where the enemy team is regardless because of that gold difference.
Well, right now, we've got to see if Elite 8 can come back into it. And that might just hinge on Anime Save Me just pulling out a double gauntlet if he can pick up that Echo in time. Right now, their base is in very major threats. Pain are going to have to just play this one out like they've been playing it. They just kind of send Jasmino Farah forward, get a couple of hooks, torment them backwards, let Muster just charge into the fray, and then pull them away from there.
I'm seeing a lot of Cloud9 in the way that Pain are playing this series, actually, and we'll have to get a fight.
For Trez, there's the trespass going to get blocked this time. Red Mist now churning through Save Me and the Alpha. However, that cage will get laid down. Doesn't quite find any stuns just yet. Ordain the second trespass, 2 stun. Nice into the fray, lands on 2 members. Anime Save Me does manage to get out alive for the time being, but the carries are forced underneath their turrets.
Don't get any kills though, so that might not be enough for Pain to look to capitalize on this turret. They have to go up against a fairly healthy team at this point forward. No Crystal Sentry lives remaining, and like I said, this has been a very Cloud9-esque game from Pain Gaming, just taking global objective after global objective off the map. Muster has gone for the Journey Boots. I thoroughly approve of Journey Boots, especially if you're trying to chase down a mobile target. It's something that we've seen Ronas do today, and it has been helping Sir Muster. He's 4-0-3 at this point in time. There are Metal Jackets starting to open up as well. Falcon's got his. I imagine Sir Muster is going to work towards that or an Atlas Pauldrons. Again, like I said, just massive item spikes starting to open up, and that's just that gold advantage that Pain have.
Exactly that. I mean, this, if you honestly remove the names right now, you'd think maybe this is a kind of game 3 from Cloud9 versus Elite 8, but this is only game number 1 of Pain Gaming versus Elite. Now, the question is, really, do they kind of force something here? They've got 20 seconds till that Kraken spawns. They could easily set up some kind of sneaky maneuver because they took that Crystal Sentry down earlier. Another 12-minute elimination of that Crystal Sentry just shows how aggressive these teams at Worlds are playing. They are just pushing their advantages time and time again and being able to set up these fights because they know Elite 8 cannot face them in the 3v3. Elite 8 just need to find the one pick-off on Falcon or Sir Muster, just catch them out alone, do a bit of damage to them, but it's so tough for them to do that right now.
I think the story of this series so far, or the day of so far, has been the teams that can execute the early game and execute it well, kind of have those dominant victories. Then it more comes down to that compositional advantage in the late game if it goes further than that. But Cloud9 and a lot of other teams have shown us if you can execute the early game and you can execute well, you just kind of steamroll your opposition.
Snowball is definitely the name of the game right now. That's exactly what they're looking for. 15 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. They instantly start up that Kraken. Elite 8 are here, however. There's a nice chain onto Anime Saves. We know Torment just used just yet. That trigger, though, almost signaling them to death. Trespass gets blocked. A nice fish from Shade, though, finds 3, and that will be Hunyegas falling. The cage gets laid down. Hein finally activates that Termination Protocol, but can't quite find the damage. Ends up going down regardless, and that's Pain Gaming finding 2 and finding the Kraken.
Oh, what do you block? If you're Hunyegas, you don't even have a reflex block at this point in time, so you're relying solely on the Crucible. He manages to get out of the Ordain with the Crucible, but then the Trespass comes in straight afterwards. He was a sitting duck with that meat grinder of an ultimate from Rona. Take a look at it again. See this? Ordained, he gets through. He doesn't even get through. I think he gets chain CC'd from the Ordained into the Trespass, and then obviously from following that, the Fearsome Shade also gets him. And again, it's lack of reflex block, but causing that. Definitely feel like against this much CC, should have been considering a reflex block earlier, but I thought he was able to get out of the Ordained. I think he literally ran to the edge of the Ordained and got stunned, followed by a Trespass stun, followed by the Fear from the Fearsome Shade. So that Vox wasn't going anywhere. Try kiting when you're layered upon layered of CC landing on your head.
That's quite scary, and I'm surprised Hunyegas hasn't actually got a reflex block right now, in all honesty, with the amount of CC from the level 6 mark onwards. From the level 2 mark onwards, in all honesty, with that Ordain. They're going to be able to open up the base here. Another Ordain lands. It's going to land on Hunyegas. He just gets annihilated. Trespass not even needed. Did get blocked in the end by Elite 8, but 2 members falling extremely low. Termination Protocol, and he explodes. But the problem is, you've got no damage, and that will lead Pain Gaming to take 2, take the base, and take game number 1.
Very, very dominant from Pain Gaming. Very Cloud9-esque. Like we said, they took global objectives. They focused them. They took aggressive team fights. They didn't hold back. They found their opportunities to engage. Looks like they learned some lessons in that series that they had up against Cloud9 earlier today. And I think that the desk really summed it up before we even got into the game. Compositionally, Pain Gaming just had the better composition.
Maybe Elite 8, the fatigue is starting to set in, quite possibly. Maybe those 2 games were kind of more exhausting than you can kind of make it out to be. I mean, Cloud9, they kind of run him through the blender. It's exactly what Pain Gaming just did. We'll see if they can come back in game number 2, however. There were glimmers of hope, especially with those Ardent Gauntlets. They were landing pretty nicely. It was just the problem was, like you mentioned before, as soon as you take control of the early game, teams are so advanced now, they're just able to snowball it so easily.
Yeah, I just don't understand the alpha, personally. Like, Rona is good into alpha. You've seen Rona, you pick alpha. Like, there are a lot of other picks that I think could have been brought out, maybe going for a heavy ranged pick, for instance. But, like, that was a composition that was better from Pain. They executed it, deserved to win.
Exactly that. Pain take game number 1 over Elite 8. We'll jump onto the desk and they break down the Pain victory even more.
Coming out from Brazil and looking incredibly strong here against Elite 8. Phenomenal performance, a flawless victory coming out from them as well. This was not the prediction across the board, gentlemen. What went wrong here? How did Pain manage to turn everything on his head? Araki Zoro, I can see you smiling over there. You were the one that got the prediction right here.
I'm smiling more at the screen in front of us that's still covered, but Pain, it was the Pain train, I mean, coming out. I did expect Elite to take it just off of playing better, but Pain Gaming definitely showed up to be the better game in this one match. I mean, they played their composition very well. Execution was very impressive. They had the power spikes they needed and capitalized on those advantages to close out the game.
Absolutely. I think I might have the predictions wrong in my head. Maybe they were the other way around on that one. It's getting late on this
that
one,
was why we both
gentlemen.
looked over towards Araki Zoro as well.
It's definitely getting late. It's 11:30 in the evening, in the PM here now in Singapore. But let's break this game down a little bit here because Pain absolutely ran away with things. This was not a close game here for Elite 8. What was the difference here between the Pain Gaming we saw earlier on today on the alternate stream against Cloud9 and the Pain Gaming that just demolished the game?
I think they had an excellent draft, and that's where it all started. I mean, they had 3 kills in the early game, and it went to 8-0 within 9 minutes of the game, and just kept abusing and pushing it. And then for some reason, Elite 8 was trying to force fights in jungle, and Rona into an alpha. You know, you saw the alpha just couldn't do much. Churnwalker gave that the damage reduction and also the damage sharing for Rona to really excel. And you saw Alpha. It doesn't matter if she terminates protocol. She was just deleted when Baptiste and Rona focused her. And then from there, Vox just didn't have any protection. Arden Gauntlet didn't last long enough, and Vox didn't do enough damage. And Pain just ran away with it.
Well, Churnwalker first ban into Lorelei first ban. You guys can't see the draft, but I can because I have the screen in front of me. Your guys' screen is covered, so.
I can see it.
Oh, Lance! Finally, Tasty Bacon.
Lance
You're gonna get
I
to
told
see
you
the
to come
Lance.
out today. I called it at the beginning of the day. We would see Lance at some point today, and it happens to be here in the final game, potentially, of Group A. But Lance going to be coming out onto the fold. You know, you asked what was different between the Pain Gaming earlier in the day versus the Pain Gaming just now, and I think we do have to be a bit honest here. The big difference was their opponent. You know, playing against Elite 8 versus playing against Cloud9. I think anyone would choose to not play against Cloud9 there. But as the draft continues, it looks like it's going to be the Black Feather banned away now by Pain Gaming. So a smart ban, just taking that off the board when you don't necessarily have something to hard counter, because the Rona can be dealt with by a Lance.
Absolutely. It's going to be the Arden as the response there. Now, Pain have to decide what they want to support this box.
I mean, the last pick, yes, okay, it's very exciting as a first pick, but they still had Lorelei or Lyra open. So I don't really understand it. Elite game or Elite 8 so far, the games they've lost, in my opinion, okay, finally have the screen in front of us, but the games they've lost have all been about the draft. They draft these compositions that are not so great against what they're playing against, and the Finn actually works really well against Lance.
I love Finn into Lance because Lance can't displace Finn. He's immovable, right? And he can't be stunned. So Finn actually is a huge counter to Lance. As soon as he maxes his Quibble, it can stun Lance, and it's basically just disables him. So Finn is actually really, really good into the Lance pick.
Yeah, Celeste is going to come through, but I want to talk about this Finn a little bit more because we mentioned earlier, or at least I did, when we were talking about the Lance and why I thought it would be picked up here in this meta is the echo changes for the low cooldown abilities.
Right.
When you think about Finn with an echo, you always think about the Force Accords, but you can echo the Quibble on Finn, have that low cooldown, and have massive impact with those stuns as well.
If they pick Petal here, they win the draft. So let's see if Petal will be picked, because with Petal and Finn and Vox, they just dive onto Celeste or dive onto Glaive. Petal is mobile. She can dodge a route. She can jump around. And with Petal ulting, slowing the Celeste, Vox jumping on her, Finn, polite company pulling her in, that's going to be a very strong composition.
Right,
I would disagree there because Petal, I mean, you could try to push the early game advantage and try to snowball the game, but if you're not able to close out, going into the late game, you have a huge range of disadvantage. With Vox and Petal trying to dive onto the Celeste, that's going to be very difficult, especially since the Celeste can clear her minions very effectively. Regardless, it is the attacker going to be as the last pick, and that's a hero that can dive onto the Celeste a lot better.
Yeah, they're definitely going for this protect the Celeste sort of style, but it's going to be interesting because they don't really have to worry about the Finn in that. As long as they block the forced accords, Finn shouldn't really be an issue for them because of the range advantages that you were just talking about. So it's really just about Taka being able to dive in and get onto the Celeste. Obviously, he's going to have a great time at doing that. But if Glaive is ready with the afterburns, as soon as Taka kitens, he should be getting afterburned back away from the Celeste, and they can create a distance between them. And the Celeste pick should actually be able to do a lot of work in this matchup.
There's also kind of a triple CC composition coming out from Elite 8 here. If they can combo the 3 stuns that they have, the afterburn, the Celeste stun, as well as all of the CC coming out from a Lance, there is potential to lock someone down for a very long time. That's enough to win a team fight on its own right there. And also, I just want to bring attention to the fact that if Elite 8 can take this game, they're going to be going to tiebreakers right here. We need to see Pain taking a 2-0 if they want to lock their spot in for the quarterfinals, if they want to move on in this tournament into those quarterfinals. But Elite 8 definitely not going to want to go down without a fight here. Their tournament life is on the line on this matchup, and they definitely have the composition to do it. How are we feeling about this game then, gentlemen? Do we feel like a team has an advantage here, Suijay?
I think the draft is pretty even. Late game, definitely Celeste is going to carry really hard. So Pain will have to really shove the lane because Finn actually is really strong in lane with Polite Company and Voss.
Yeah.
They can push the lane against Celeste and force jungle rotations.
Okay, so
I think Pain will take it.
Pain?
I'm going to go with the opposite of Reki Zoro's Game 1 prediction. I think the draft is better for Elite 8, but I think Pain are going to be the better team on the fold.
All right, 2 for Pain.
Let's
Reki?
do Pain all 3 for us.
All right, we have a full house of Pain supporters right here. It's time to get on into this game. It's time to pass it over to our casters once again and get the second game of this series underway. It's time to decide this group.
With an almost perfect game in game number 1, Pain took it. And now we'll see what happens in number 2. Will it become a tiebreaker here? Will Pain Gaming take it to a 2-0? We'll have to wait and find out.
We've seen a lot of this Celeste-Vox matchup over the course of today. We saw G2 find a way to exploit Celeste, who doesn't traditionally build any armor. You dive her with that heavy critical strike base build. 4 items on Vox. It's kind of not the normal build that we've seen coming up over this World Championships, but it is a build that deals with Celeste very well. But we've also seen the Celestes that crush the Voxes. So I think this could go either way. If this gets to the late game, I'm kind of in Elite 8's camp. I've seen Elite 8 play Celeste. I know they are good at it. I watched them play at the Spring Southeast Asian Championships, and they were so practiced with this. So it's something that I know that they can play well. Just got to execute on it when it matters most, and when it matters most is now.
Well, maybe reverting back to comforts is what they finally needed. Elite 8 over on the blue, Pain Gaming over on the red. Seeing Finn as well, coming out from Josuino Ferrer. Something we haven't seen all too much of. And Tasty Bacon with the correct prediction on the last stream game of this evening as well, with the Lance pick up for Anime Save.
Yeah, and again, this is very much like they were talking about, kind of heavy protect the Celeste composition. They've got a lot of peel for her. And the only problem that I feel is that obviously Taka's pretty slippery. And he can do a lot to dodge around that Lance, disengage. He's also pretty good at dodging out Glaive when he's been searching for an afterburn. So a lot of this will come down to whether Falcon can execute, especially at that level 6 power spike. If they shove that lane in with the Finn and the Vox, put pressure onto Celeste, stop her from getting too much farm, stop her from feeling too comfortable.
Oh, Heim's going to go in, and Pale did end up connecting, but still Pain finding the kill on the Elder Treant. Heim not being able to secure it. It's going to get chased around by Falcon, though.
Going to try and catch official Heim here. Falcon jumping in, got those 2 weapon blades to start. Makes him a bit more powerful in the early game than Attacker would be usually.
Force the flask as well. They're going to follow this one up. Falcon undeterred. Just we know Ferro over the side of the wall does get the Polite Company, and that'll be first blood over to Pain.
Wow, really stuck to his target, was waiting for that kiting to come up, and Anime saved me with just the Impale right now. Ooh, he does actually land that onto Falcon. It's going to stop him from backing where he wanted to. But it's a lot harder to hit the Impale onto Attacker like that. Wanted that Githian wall to try and knock him into the wall, but unfortunately Anime saving not level 2, so unable to do so. That is good for the Taka. You know, the more sort of gold you can get him before his level 6 power spike, the more likely it is that he's going to hit something like an Aftershock at level 6, which is going to be such a critical time for Pain. They need to execute off the back of that level 6 spike for Taka.
Wow, big Githian wall there from Anime Saving. Actually stopped the back from Mustang, just we know Ferrer. So forcing them to stay in the lane will result in a couple extra minions being missed here by Muster, which is going to be pretty big. Just securing them with the polite company, and it's going to be able to freeze the wave just in front of the turret, so he doesn't lose as much. Minion candy being prioritized quite heavily here by Pain. In fact, Muster has just gone back to get himself a blazing salvo, a pair of boots, and the minion candy.
Jaeger just rotating in and out of that jungle, picking up a couple of crystal bits on his way back. But like I said, once he gets to level 8, Celeste traditionally decent into a Finn. Finn is a slow-moving and sort of heavy hitbox target. He's quite easy to land supernovas on. So you can stack things like Dragon's Eye easily on him. It used to be that you could stack Broken Myth on him easily, but since the Broken Myth change, you can actually be sort of a target for just the Dragon's Eye builds. Whether he goes for that, we haven't really seen much Dragon's Eye on Celeste. It's a little bit harder to keep stacked if you're missing your skill shots, so the sort of safer build is to go something like a Shatterglass into Clockwork, Eve of Harvest, Broken Myth. That's kind of a traditional 4-item build for Celeste. Wondering whether that you've got a slower, easier target now for Jaegers, that Dragon's Eye will be on the target, even on the cards, sorry.
Ooh. Light Company's keeping Heim at bay for the time being. Falcon's going to be able to just pop into the little rice box. Jaeger's in a lot of trouble. He's on the front line right now. Has to actually pop the boots in order to get out of danger. Muster and Yasuhino Farah following up Falcon rather readily. However, Elite 8 are going to be able to just start this Elder Tree, and we'll see if they are going to be able to get the steal. No, they are not. Pain end up just missing that one by an inch. That Githium Walls from Anime save me though. They are on point for the time being.
Taka level 4 has the components of his Aftershock ready. Only needs a little bit more gold to convert over. If he can hit that before level 6, which I'm absolutely certain that he will, it's a critical time, like I said, for Pain to look to execute. Find the opportunity, jump into lane, X-Retsu onto Jaegers. The problem that they are going to face is they kind of need to force him to use that flask, but maybe they can go in, force him to use that flask, and then come back just a little bit later. It is an easy way to start punishing a Celeste. That's why Taka is good. He can jump over the core collapse, means he can't get stunned. He can dive in and out of the fight, use X-Retsu to get on top of her. He gets through that ranged battlefield of all of those Heliogenesis, and he does a lot of damage. A lot of damage, especially to squishier targets.
I think that's the most important factor, in all honesty, that he does a lot of damage. Shot being completed here. A little Heim can actually get an item on board, looking to go possibly the Sorrow Blade as his first item. Or maybe he wants to go something like a Tension Bow for that additional burst damage on the first engagements. Fountain pick up here from Josué Novera as well, so Pain across the board, hitting a nice little power spike drop.
Yeah, Josué Novera, like I said, hit the Fountain. Both teams on the Fountain right now. Again, we haven't really seen any teams get Fountain super early and try and exploit that advantage. Both teams have kind of been hitting it at the same area of the game, if you will. Lots of investment into vision here, though, for Elite 8, just looking to make sure they're keeping tabs on Taka. Some people would often go towards something like a contraption, but if you're behind, having a contraption sucks because your vision just gets played out regardless, and it feels like a kind of dead item. So it's, Anime Saving might feel like he needs items like Crucible for the Finn, more so than he needs to keep tabs on the Taka, so he's happy to spend a bit of gold into Scout Traps or into Flares, and then the contraption can come later down the line.
Oh. Falcon has found himself a glaive, going fairly low. Heim's going to have to be quite careful. Remember that Aftershock power spikes really starting to hurt now. Pain Gaming doing exactly what they do best. Be very aggressive early and punish the mistakes, and Heim just overstepped his mark, you feel.
Not much opportunity for Pain to seek in the lane right now. Celeste has been super pushed back, and you saw Pain, Josué Novera and Muster just shoving that lane in. Here goes the glaive.
Afterburn. Pushes Muster away, however. Nice quibble from Josué Novera. Can't quite find much yet.
No, he won't get too much out of that instance. Oh, that's a stun.
Core collapse into the Impale. Nice Githium Wall as well. The CC was there, but oh no, the rest of your team and damage was not. Although Jaegers does send the Solar Storm flying, forcing the Fountain actually coming out from Josué.
Yeah, Fountain's big loss here. They could potentially look to go for a dive if they had the opportunity. No real way to prevent that damage coming out in the dive. Falcon is a little bit behind in levels to Official High, and I think it's just because Falcon has been so focused on trying to look for opportunities to take 1v1s. He hasn't been farming, or actually he's out-farmed. Maybe Official High has just been sharing some lane experience a bit more often than Falcon has while he's been clearing his jungle.
Yeah, quite possibly. Now level 6 has been hit for Josué. You've got to look at the reflex blocks now, wanting to come out from the side of Elite 8. I only see one, and that's on Anime Save Me. Nothing yet for Jaegers. The problem with that is he's not got many item slots left. In fact, he's got 0 with that crystal bit he picked up a couple of minutes ago. Heim hasn't got a reflex block either. Again, filled his inventory up. So this could be a good source of gold for Pain, in all honesty, if they can land a forced accord.
Pressure onto this turret. Fountain up in 4 seconds though, so that small advantage that they might have gained starting to dwindle away. Pain has found a very little pressure in this lane so far. That is positive for Elite 8. You know, they have got 2 items on Celeste. It's the Eve of Harvest and the Clockwork. She's never going to run out of energy. Oh, that's a missed forced accord.
Goes a little bit wide. Not even a panic reflex block from Anime Save Me.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have the Crucible right now, so nothing got forced there. That's a wasted cooldown. That could have been a good opportunity to push onto that turret. And like I said, Jaegers is now at 2 items. The infinite energy items of Eve of Harvest and Clockwork, allowing him to clear wave for indefinitely, realistically, depending on how much pressure he receives. But this is just the kind of build that you can sit there, farm under your turret, and feel very little pressure from a minion wave.
Infusions across the board. They want to go for an engage. Polite Company, Exoretsu as well. Core Collapse was good. It's done 2. Wait for it also there, but it did quite miss Anime. Anime is going to be able to back off. In fact, marching forwards now. Impale and Gethium wall up in a couple of seconds also. Core Collapse ends up missing, and they go in once again. Exoretsu on the back line. Anime Saving is going extremely low. Solar Storm doesn't quite hit anybody just yet, and the re-engage once again coming out from Pain. Still stealthing up. Exoretsu on the front line. Celeste not where you want to be. Ends up getting cut down, and Falcon will find his next kill.
Double infusion from Pain, and still Elite 8 decided to take that fight. I think they felt they had that Fountain advantage. They thought they did a lot of work with some Supernovas, and they thought, well, we're actually winning even though they've got infusions, but a really, really slick turnaround from Pain. They're going to head towards that lane, try and get some pressure onto that tier 1 turret before the rest of Elite 8 can respond. The minion wave has not favored the Pain push, however. It was balanced in the middle, and Elite 8 should be there to defend it.
It's like Hill not resulting in a lot. Oh, forced to core. Core Collapse is going to hit, but it's going to hit the fin, so he resists most of the effects. Now Pain marching forward. Those Heliogenesis are really starting to pack a punch as it's overdriven now.
Yeah, level 8, range advantage. Could be a bit more lax with the way you start spamming those Heliogenesis, and like you said, the damage output on the Supernova is also that much higher. When Jaeger's 2 and a bit items. Picked up some shielding as well to make sure he doesn't attacker whenever Taka finds that Exoretsu opportunity.
Oh, speaking of that, he has found Jaegers, but should be all right. Core Collapse actually isn't going to quite land, but Gethium all did. Pushes him away for the time being. Now Musta's going to march forward also. Pain all about the re-engage potential of Falcon. As soon as Exoretsu's back up online, he knows he can go in. So slippery on this Taka.
Again, just clearing the wave is the priority here for Elite 8.
Musta's just face checking, by the way, as well. He's going to just focus the turret for the time being. Wait for it to silence 2 members of Elite 8. Can't really do all too much. Anime Save Me tried to get the Impale over the wall. Gethium wall only onto 1 person. That person was Falcon.
There's a stun.
Just walked away from it. Nice stun onto Musta also. Solar Storm comes out. Only hits just Yasminu Farah, but he's a very tanky Finn, so just shrugs off the damage.
Still, no way of taking down this first turret. The gold is pretty even between the 2. They're actually backing off. I'm not sure why they're backing off right here. This seems like it's an opportunity for an easy push onto this turret from Pain.
Save Me, left completely alone underneath his turret. Musta's going to go in, doesn't quite find the kill, and in fact, now it is Heim that is actually forced out. Nice force to call onto 2 people. Heliogenesis hits Falcon and Musta. They're underneath the turret, tanking the shots, but it doesn't matter, because already Heim has fallen down, and now it's just